Hey, hi and welcome. All right, little boat buying tip: a boat that you plan on trading up or selling off after a couple of years. Be careful what you buy. Sometimes you might buy a boat that's a great deal, but there's a reason why the price is low on it. Is because the resale value is probably not very high. So some people will buy a boat and they'll stick a ton of money, especially into areas in the boat where they don't need it. So they'll do all this cosmetic stuff. Meanwhile, the engine still needs work. There's wiring problems. There's leaks, all that stuff. Take care of the Burnems, leakems, and sinkems first. Always get a survey before you buy the boat. If you're lucky and you get, if you get to know some surveyors and stuff like that, and you're in the boatyard and they'll say, what do you think of that boat there? Is it worth it to get it surveyed? They'll just shake their head and that boat's going to cost you 12 grand. Here's a boat for, these boats are normally, let's say it's a Kirby 25, they're normally 9 grand, and the guy's selling it for 3,500 with a trailer, 14 sails, and it's great. Oh, wow. Okay, well, just go out and buy that boat, and then you go get it surveyed to get it insured, or to be, some boats, they won't allow you out of yacht club without a survey. And it's like, no, well, that boat needs about 5 grand, 10 grand worth of work because it's been demasted, or the crazing got so bad that the deck is completely done on it. Needs all the hardware, needs all that stuff. Sorry, you got yourself a boat that, you just bought yourself a 10 grand deck refit. You know what I mean? Because the deck is, there's structural problems with the boat. And I've seen a lot of boats like that. And I would talk to the surveyor. I talk to the owner. Usually, sometimes they're forthcoming, sometimes they're not. They're like, oh, I didn't know the survey was last done XYZ, and all that stuff. Most surveyors are pretty good. It's the Burnems, leakems, and sinkems, but you always get that one surveyor that is so by the book that it's like, like no boat can ever pass. You got guys like that, and usually people at the yacht club will tell you, stay away from that guy. he's going to cost you a lot of money. But the other thing is, every survey will tell you the same thing. No, you get me first before you buy the boat. I'm not a marine surveyor. I'm just going by hanging around drunken marine surveyors all the time, and the bitching and whining they do is basically exactly like people buy a boat and then they get mad at you when you won't, like the guy that did my first boat. He goes, you should have got a hold of me first. Yes, it's a little bit expensive, but you're spending thousands of dollars anyway. You spend a couple $100 more if you're really serious about that boat. Now, I get it if you're looking at 10 boats. This is where the more you know, the less you need, and you can take a bit of a gamble. But a surveyor will do one of two things. Either they won't pass the boat at all, or they'll make recommendations. Okay, yes, we'll pass the boat, but you have to fix this, and this, and this. Here's the recommendations. But if it's a boat with structural problems that you're not aware of, especially with race boats, there's usually structural problems with them that they need a lot of work to. Not impossible. Not every boat's going to cost you 10 grand to fix up. But if you don't know how to do that stuff, and you're buying a boat that you're going to try to sell later on, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that all that stuff gets devalued. Now, this boat here is a Hughes 26E, okay? And there's 3 versions. There's Hughes 26, Hughes 26Es, and then there's a Hughes North Star 600. And they're all the same boat, just different grade levels. Now, this is a cruising boat. It's called a racer cruiser, but it's really a cruising boat. And a boat like this, and I've had a ton of people tell me, Reg, you buy that yourself, a Hughes, it's yours. Nobody wants these things. But it's not true. It's not true at all, because as soon as you have somebody on board, like, okay, well, the cockpit isn't the biggest. It's, it's 5 or 6 feet, whatever. But it's big. It's not like my Tanzer 22 where you can have like a 7-foot cockpit on a 22-foot boat. It was with a flush deck. It was a complete party boat, just no room down below. Well, there's a little bit of room. Great little boat. Easy to sell. Why? Because there's 2,200 and some out of those things made. And there's a huge... Tanzer 22s are still so common that if you want to go racing, you could say, we're only racing the Tanzers with the blue stripe tonight. The red stripe is tomorrow night, the green stripe is the night after, and the black one is on Wednesday or something like that. That's how many of those boats. So they're easy to sell off. They retain value fairly well. You'll get them anywhere from $1,500 right up to like $15,000, depending on how well they were kept. But they usually have a lot of structural problems on the deck because people race them pretty hard and spinnaker them pretty hard. But like this, almost nobody spinnakers, so that's good. But it's a slow boat from racing point of view. And the difference between a fast boat and a slow boat is like 1 knot. Nowadays technology is a lot different. You could be talking a boat that's 26 that does 40 knots as a foil, or you got a boat that does like 4.2 knots like this boat as a cruiser, right? And the average boat is probably going to cruise anywhere 5.5 to 6 knots is usually a typical 22 to 30 foot boat. That's usually typical cruising range. So what's a fast boat? What's not? Oh, my boat cruises at 6 to 7 knots, like a Kirby 25, and then or a whatever. But when the wind kicks up, the boat does 9 to 10 knots. It's a race boat, right? And I just use that as an example. There's a whole bunch of boats out there. But the thing is you buy the boat. You want to make sure that if you're going to be selling it off after a couple of years, you don't want to have to put a lot of investment in it. Be prepared to take a loss. So if you're lucky to even sell the boat for what you paid for it, great. But let's say you buy a 26-footer like this and you have a family of 4 and you really, really like sailing. It's okay, well, it's time for the 30-footer. But you're on an inland waterway where, like this boat, the boat that came before this was designed as an offshore, mini offshore racer cruiser, which was known as the Hughes 500. Phenomenal boat. I looked at a couple of them. I really wanted one. Because looks-wise, they're a sexy boat, but as a racing offshore boat, even though it's probably the toughest, most ocean-worthy 25-footer ever built, it had a step mast and everything. The problem with that boat is the J24 came out and the thing would just like move in, like you went like this. J24, not moving, 12 knots. You know what I mean? That's a J24. When the Hughes 25 or the Hughes 500 which was a 25-footer, exact same boat as this, except for where the difference is it only had a 5.5 foot, 5 foot 1 under the hatch, and the hatch was only like maybe like this. It was really designed to go out on the ocean and racing in offshore, mini offshore racing cruising. And I really want it, but it had a 5-foot keel. So inland waterway, 5-foot keel is getting pretty deep for inland waterways. You really want to stick around the 4.5, and less. Swing keels, if you have a swing keel, you don't have a sailboat. Sorry. Offense taken to people, that's fine. But if you have a swing keel, you don't have a sailboat. Yeah, they're convenient. A shoal keel, yeah, that makes sense. That's a way to get around it. But if you actually want real sailing qualities, that's another reason why you buy a boat like this, is that when you want to go upwind, 60 degrees upwind, this is the boat to do it. You just won't do it fast. You want to basically sail the boat with your pinky, this is the boat. You want to be stable in 30 knots of wind, this is the boat at this range. But let's say, like again, the boat, okay, you love the boat, but it's not big enough. So you bought the boat. I bought this boat 10.5. The average is probably about 6,500 for a boat like this. Usually that's in a lot rougher condition, and that's usually without the inboard, which a boat this size, I'd say stay away from inboards on a boat this size. It's just you're going to lose too much speed dragging that prop in the water. Just by what I noticed. You're probably going to, you're going slow enough as it is, even though the sailing qualities are excellent. It's just, it doesn't look as nice with the, an outboard hanging off the back, but it's on a short boat. It's just much more practical, and you get more internal space, and you don't have to smell the fuel and stuff like that. So there's all that stuff that's with it. But the thing is yeah. So be prepared to take a loss if you go to upgrade boats. But look what the resale value is of the boat you're buying, and I guess I'll just leave it on that, because what ends up happening is you buy a boat that just you can't resell it. You have the boat for 15 years and nobody wants to buy it because it's just a boat nobody wants. Or you have to reduce the price to the point where you're almost giving it away. So just keep that in mind when you're buying a boat. I'll leave it at that because it can go on forever and a day, but just things to look out for. All right, have a good one.